Now to our top stories. It's not over yet. The Electoral College has yet to be decided, as some rogue voters and electors are vowing to go against the will of the American people. There's 538 who truly decide who becomes the next president of the United States. First Brexit, then Trump. It's populism versus globalism. Joining us is the World Report's senior analyst, Morrie Beschloss, whom you can follow at mbeschloss on Twitter, the czar of conservatism, Morrie Beschloss. Morrie, Brexit, Trump, Italy, Austria, we're seeing some serious movements in the world.
All over the place.
And you summed it up very nicely. It's populism versus globalism.
That's exactly
a lot of people
what it
won't
is.
like those terms, but it's kind of what we're looking at, is it not?
Well, just a quick description for the few that don't know what those terms mean. Populism means going back to taking care of your country first, whether it's America first or whatever country you happen to be a patriot for. Globalism is what's happened in the world in the last 25 years, where the Eurocom, the European Community, all these other organizations are trying to get the best they can for themselves, but they don't care what happens to their own country. They're losing production, they're losing workers, as we are, and consequently, it's only what's good for the pocketbook, it's good for the stock market, it's good for everything but the country itself. That's what's called populism versus globalism.
So do you feel like we're seeing people around the world, especially in Europe, trying to take back their sovereignty, the nationality, their language, their culture, their currency? We're seeing this everywhere.
Indubitably, that's exactly what's happening. Sometimes it's for the bad.
How much of it has to do with the immigrant-migrant situation?
It infuriates the situation because when Angela Merkel, the president of Germany, did something which I never ever would see in my lifetime, opened the doors of that country right now to people that basically can turn it upside down. There are millions of Muslims now in Germany. Part of me says maybe they're finally getting what they deserve after what they did to this world back in the Hitler days. But whatever the reason is, this is weakening Germany, and not only the criminology of it, it's like sanctuary cities. I mean, America is for the Americans, Germany's for the Germans. This is what populism. I don't even like the word populism because it doesn't define what it really means.
Nationalism?
Yes, nationalism, you're getting into a fascism type of thinking. Unfortunately, nationalism used to be where you were a patriot for your country. Now it means you're an ultra-right-wing fascist. These words have a way of being redefined based on the propagandist who's using them for or against.
Right. We also have a movement within the American people that I don't know that was being reported. We kind of felt it as a country. We saw it as a country. It was underreported. It was undervalued. And I think at this point, it can't be overlooked anymore, can it?
No, and I think it wasn't even undervalued or underreported. I think, first of all, the media today is almost 100% leftist. I would say even the Wall Street Journal is at best a centrist.
Especially their editorial page.
Oh, it's just enough to make you sick when you say, like Bret Stephens just came down on Trump like he was the worst thing that ever happened to this country. But I think what you have today is a situation where people are not finding jobs, that the phony numbers that are coming out of the Labor Department or the U.S. Information Agency or whatever, anything to make this loser that we've had in the White House for the last 2 terms look good. To me, it's a toss-up whether it was Jimmy Carter or Barack Obama as being the worst presidents we've ever had. But that's another...
So that's up for debate.
That's up for debate, but I feel very strongly.
The Electoral College has not yet decided the President of the United States.
Oh, come on.
That's why you continue to hear President-elect. So there are some rogue Republicans that are going against Trump and the will of the people, and you've got this recount that's been going on, which is probably going nowhere.
No, not probably. It is going nowhere.
Let me ask you, do you think the Electoral College needs to be revised a little bit?
No.
You like
No,
it just
no,
the way it
I
is?
like it the way it is because, again, historically speaking, when the 13 states were organized into a unit, and this would not have happened without the Electoral College, the little states like Connecticut, Rhode Island,
Delaware.
South Carolina, Delaware, they said, wait a second, we're going to have to live by the will of Pennsylvania and New York.
Yeah.
And we're not going to go along with that. We'll just stay independently the way we are right now. So they came in with the electoral colleges, said we still make it based on population, but we'll give you a say in the final result by giving you a percentage of what your population is to the population as a whole.
Okay, so if that's the case, why don't the votes go automatically to the candidate? Why do we still have to have electors to come in to place the votes for the people when we already did that?
You know, that's a very good question. What you're saying is it should be mechanical.
It should be done.
Should be a mechanical.
If you won that state, you
I
won
know.
those electoral votes.
I know.
But we still have another process.
Well, because of the fact that normally that's the way it was handled. You've got
Now, is it not almost identical to the superdelegates that the Democrats have schemed?
No, not really. I think this is being way
Because you don't
overrated.
have to vote for the. If your state voted for a candidate, you can vote whoever you want to vote for.
Technically, that's correct, but you know it isn't going to happen. There would be such an outcry and such a burst of anger that God only knows what would happen.
Then let me back up and ask you that same question. Why do we need the December 19th electoral vote if the votes have already been cast and the electoral college vote should be?
Now I understand. You say, why don't we make it automatic?
You win Florida, you got 29 electoral votes. We don't need another vote.
The morning of November the 9th, we knew exactly. Because that's the way it's been done, and because it really has never been negated the way it has this year.
So I'm not saying get rid of the Electoral College. I'm just saying I don't know why we need another vote after that.
There's a lot of things we don't need because this thing has been taken for granted. Here you got this Joyce Stein, an idiot woman who got 1% of the vote, being a Greens candidate. She was making a little extra money for her own
A little?
$5 or $6
$5
million.
million in like 2 weeks?
No, I know.
That's a pretty good grab.
I really don't place that much emphasis on it because it'll never, the chance of it having any impact are slim to none. You know, actually in past elections you've had a couple of things like that, but it's like anything in a democracy. In a democracy, you go through the motions, okay? In an autocracy, the guy on top bangs his fist on the table and says, you either do it my way or the highway.
But let me ask you something. Can you name 3 Electoral College representatives?
No, and I don't really care, and they don't care. I mean,
But my point is that I'm not saying we should get rid of that process. I think if you win the state, you win the state, you win the state.
It isn't going to happen. I think it's going to be yesterday's news. Even Hillary, who first came in and thought that somehow she saw a little opening there, she got smart and finally figured out. She's backed away from this whole deal. The whole thing is...
Well, she has a lot to lose if she was to go forward.
I think the greatest thing that the United States has going forward is, I think, the spiritual aspect of what this country stands for. It always seems to come back after what looked like a disastrous theatrical play that they were losing. What has happened now is I think we're looking forward to a very, very great future at this point, especially when I know you, being a little younger than me, you can look forward to the future with a great amount of